I said to myself, I was going to change the intro the last time we did one of these. I just have not had time. there's too many X Rangers in that intro. But welcome all, one and all, to the show. I'm kind of wired up, maybe a little fired up. I'm moderately ready to go. We'll put it there. Episode 52 of BlueTruth, New York Rangers Talk with Brian Attard, powered by the Sportsbox Network. Like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you to those who have joined the live stream for watching live. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, thank you for that as well. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Maybe you'll join the live stream one of these episodes. Tonight is Thursday, June the 18th, 2026. Mike Faris, good evening, sir. How are you? Good to see you. Tonight, we're just about a week away from the 2026 NHL Draft, where your New York Rangers will be selecting, at least at the time of this recording, with the 5th overall and 26th overall selections in the first round. We'll spend some time tonight talking about some possibilities there. Shortly after the draft, as you know, on July 1st, NHL free agency will open up at noon. So it's not exactly a bumper crop of players available. But the Rangers have about $30 million in cap space. They can certainly do some damage. Maybe some of that is self-inflicted, if we're being honest. Now that the season's officially ended with Carolina winning it all, and obviously we'll touch on that, trade market's also going to open up. A couple deals already, actually. So, the Rangers still have a piece or two that they would, or maybe they should be looking to move out. So we'll look at that market as well. Business is certainly about to pick up, and this is the part of the hockey calendar from mid-June to about mid-July that, to me, is far more impactful than the vast majority of the regular season. You may disagree, and that's fine. I can't begin to tell you how little I care, but that's the reality of it, right? So, obviously, there is some Rangers-related sports news, or I should say New York sports news, that you don't need me to break for you. But we'll talk about it because there may be some impacts on the Rangers. Mark Brown, I think it should be longer. Kana, good evening. Dimitri, let's go Knicks. We'll talk about that in a minute. Susan, one of my favorite people to interact with on the page. Hey, y'all. Susan, I think, understands my truths more than most. I think she understands where we're coming from half the time. Roger, good evening, brother. How are you? Nice to see the people I like interacting with to start the show, as opposed to the people that love to try to hate me like I give a shit. Anyway, let's start there. So, here we go. Okay. I hate this software sometimes. Okay. There we go. All right. Earlier today, the New York Knicks held a ticker tape parade to celebrate their first championship in 53 years. Full disclosure, while I am very certain plenty of people who are watching this show and follow this page care about the Knicks, and you're on cloud nine, and that's great. Like, I'm very happy for you. I personally could not care any less about the Knicks or the NBA outside of me being an amateur sports writer and having to kind of know what's going on. Does nothing for me. That's just me, right? If it's for you, awesome. Listen, please enjoy the absolute hell out of this, right? I know that this is the Knicks version of 1994 for the Rangers. Like, it's about 54 years. It's pretty damn close. Means nothing to me, but that's okay. If it means something to you, that's awesome. Being that the Rangers share a building, a CEO, a stock ticker symbol for the time being with the Knicks, it's fair to think about what impact the basketball team's win will have on the hockey team. And I've been thinking about this quite a bit as the Knicks have been moving along in the playoffs. I think that this really can go one of two ways. It's either going to relieve some pressure and, frankly, maybe take off some general relevance from the Rangers, or it will add some pressure, add some urgency to the Rangers. James Dolan, he's a pretty happy camper these days, and rightfully so. The general thought amongst people was that Dolan always cared more about the Knicks than the Rangers. And whether that's true or not, one team just had a parade today, and the other one is probably as far away from one as they've been in some time. Pretty good time to be Dolan, all in all. That hasn't generally been the case. In all the hoopla of the Knicks winning, from the standpoint of ownership, I think it's fair to believe that the pressure to turn the Rangers around might actually get a little lighter. As bluntly as I can put it, James Dolan's not going to lose any sleep tonight about worrying about what the Rangers are going to do in the short term, because he's celebrating the Knicks. He might even forget that the Rangers are part of the portfolio. Dolan's basketball team winning is just naturally likely to take whatever focus he had on the hockey team and just bring it down a notch or two. And I say that conservatively. City of New York, pretty happy place these days, and rightfully so. The Knicks are the one team that does genuinely unite the city. Yes, the Brooklyn Nets exist, but nobody cares. While the Yankees may be the A team, the Mets do have a sizable fan base. While the Giants may be the A team, the Jets do have a sizable fan base. While the Rangers are absolutely the A team, the Islanders do have a couple of dozen fans. I think they're all related. Anyway, the Knicks are the only basketball team of any consequence in New York. So in all the hoopla of the Knicks winning, sorry, I just saw the Connor's comment there. The Rangers' general state of affairs probably isn't going to be top of mind for fans who cheer mostly equally for multiple New York teams. The Rangers are probably going to lose some relevance in the minds of many fans. And that's not unique to the Rangers by any means. You know, I'm sure the Mets being terrible and the Jets being the Jets is going to lessen thoughts about them as well. So the general relevance in the general fan base regarding the Rangers is likely to decrease. I think that's natural in the aggregate. It doesn't apply to me, of course, or many of you fans of the show, but, you know, we're kind of a subsection of this whole thing. On the other side of the coin, alternatively, it may have the complete opposite impact entirely. James Dolan enjoying this Knicks experience may create the environment where he wants to experience the joys of winning again and again. He may look at the Rangers and say to himself, well, if the Knicks can win, the Rangers can win too. Why are the Rangers not winning? We need the Rangers to win. You know what, brother? I agree. We do need the Rangers to win. Something of relevance. We'll get to that. In any event, this idea of a rebuild, a retool, a whatever, the internal timeline on that might have just gotten much shorter. The leash that Chris Drury has to oversee the operation might have just gotten much shorter. The patience that may have been there in January may not be there now. It may not last as long. Winning is addictive. It is the ultimate rush. The pressure might just get turned up high for the Rangers to get back on track as soon as possible, whether that's feasible or not. And that impacts decisions from top to bottom. Rangers fans who also root for the Knicks, as plenty of you are who are commenting right now. See you, Dave. I see you, Dave. I'll get there. They're going to want their hockey team to do the same thing that their basketball team just did. They're enjoying this experience. This is not an experience they normally feel, right? Fans will vote with their wallets. Sports is a business at the end of the day. If we get into next season and we start to see there being issues with ticket sales or there's some general fan apathy, I think that's going to be a problem. You know, in 2018, the letter was received generally well by fans of this team. As genuinely dumb as some people are. And trust me when I tell you, there are some Rangers fans who are as dumb as rocks. And I don't mean to insult rocks when I say that, but when you run a page like I do, you interact with these people and you start to question the meaning of life. Anyway, overall, it is an engaged and smart base. The 2026 AI rewrite of the letter was received quite differently. There was that general unhappiness of how quickly that what was perceived as a contender fell apart. Even if it was as logical as a progression on the timeline as can be for those willing to put aside their pom-poms and see it for what it is, the vibes in 2018 were just far, far different. So if we do see fan apathy as a result of the basketball team winning and the hockey team kind of being stuck a little bit in this part of the cycle, I do think that can certainly create a sense of urgency and a lack of patience to figure it out and figure it out quickly. It's not necessarily a good thing. It's reality. The Knicks championship is going to have some impact on the Rangers in one direction or another. It might buy them time because the spotlight is off, or it might turn the heat up to replicate the Knicks' success. Time will tell where it goes. But when we get to the draft and we get to free agency, it's going to be just fascinating to see how the Rangers act from a perception versus reality standpoint. If pressure is relieved, Ruby, we're getting there. We're talking about the Rangers. If pressure is relieved by the Knicks winning, the Rangers won't worry so much about perception. They will have free reign to be more patient and not feel the pressure to try to rush things. If pressure is increased by the Knicks winning, the Rangers will worry almost solely about how they are perceived. They will at least need to appear to be doing everything possible to make this retool quick and dirty and just get it done. That's probably not feasible and probably not in their best interest, but that's the reality. One thing that I will say that is an absolute positive about the Knicks winning is what you saw, what it was like today. You saw what winning a championship means here. You saw the parade, the people, just millions of people, a sea of humanity. You saw what it can be like for a team to win in New York. You see other cities win titles, and the parades are not what they are in New York City. I mean, look, yes, places like maybe Boston, Philadelphia, it's closer to what New York is, but it's not what New York is. And I do think that that can play a role in deciding where a player wants to go. The Rangers parade in 1994 was 32 years ago yesterday. So was O.J. Simpson and the White Bronco, neither here nor there. But we forget sometimes that the drive to win in New York is what brought Mark Messier here. Before the 94 season, he showed the 86 Mets parade to the team to be very clear to them what the goal was and why he came to New York. We posted a picture from the parade yesterday, and that outpouring of comments about how people remember it and how great it was, how they want it so badly again. Like, that's New York. Jalen Brunson is a household name today because he just won a championship with the New York Knicks. Derek Jeter was an amazing baseball player, but he won, and he won repeatedly as a member of the New York Yankees. Eli Manning, if he had a different last name, he might not be thought of the same way, but he won 2 Super Bowls in dramatic fashion as the quarterback of the New York Giants. There is something about winning a championship in New York that is unique. And I don't think I have a bias in saying that. I don't live in New York. I live in South Jersey. I only like 2 of the teams that call New York home, but it's New York. It's the Canyon of Heroes. It is the biggest stage in the world. So if I am a big name player with a contract coming up, or I'm not happy where I am because, I don't know, they just signed some asshole to be head coach that was fired somewhere for looking through people's cell phones. We'll get to that. If I want to go win something that will stand the test of time, if I care about my legacy and I want to create something that is a legacy that lasts forever, I want to go win in New York. I want to be in that parade. I want my name among the champions of the city of New York. It just means more. It did for Mark Messier. That's why he came here. Would Derek Jeter's career have been remembered the way it has been if he did what he did as a member of the Milwaukee Brewers or the Kansas City Royals? Probably not. Comments before I get to the next one. Okay. PJ, a couple dozen. Did I overshoot the Islanders fan base? I might have. Dave, I actually felt dirty celebrating with Islander fans that are always Knicks fans. See that. Brian Allen, answer how equalizing based on net income when they're saving 100% of their tax revenue through compensation makes sense. Well, Brian, that's because the salary cap should treat teams equally. And if 7 teams can effectively pay their players a higher net amount for the same gross amount, that's a problem. So all you have to do is make the salary cap based on after-tax dollars. Make contracts based on after-tax dollars. So if you sign for $8 million a year, whether you play in New York, Toronto, Winnipeg, Miami, the dark side of the moon, you walk away with $8 million. The team just grosses it up to cover it, right? The whole point here is not to avoid taxes. It's not a tax debate, not a politics debate. I generally don't care. However, when you're using a hard cap, which only the NHL has, NFL doesn't have a hard cap, NBA doesn't have a hard cap, MLB has no cap at all. That team is disadvantaged when they basically make the player whole and match his after-tax income elsewhere. So again, if you make the cap after tax and you judge contracts after tax, everything equals out. And it's not a pro-Ranger thing. Canada gets it the worst of everybody. Buffalo pays New York State taxes. How are these teams supposed to really compete when 7 teams can pay their players more and have them count less against the cap? Very simple. I'm a CFP. It's what I do for a living. I have athletes as clients. I live this stuff. So it is what it is. It's not an anti-tax. It's not a pro-tax. I will tell you, you have zero idea where I am on the political scale by design. I don't talk about that. This is not tax. This is just cap and how it should be fair if you're going to have a cap at all. If not, get rid of the damn cap. And you just heard it live. PJ's just trying to needle me. I understand. I love you, buddy. Jerry Campbell, dude, you sit in the hundreds. Try sitting in 400 to see how dumb rocks can be. Oh, Jerry, I interact with them every day. Every day, the comments come in. Oh, we'll get to some of that. We'll get to some of that for sure. Ruby, the winnings finally showed up only when the season was done and still missed next season, but should be good. Dolan didn't own the Knicks or Rangers at that time. That is true. Let's see. Can't wait for our day. I know, brother. Good to see you, by the way. Mark's just throwing trades out at me. Trocheck to Boston for low ride. Letourneau, 2027 second. Yeah, maybe. All right. The Carolina Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup. Good for them. Hey, can you remember a road that a team took to win a cup that was just as easy as this one? Now, nobody will care. And by the way, nor should they, right? They don't ask how you won. They ask how many you won, right? The Knicks also had a pretty easy road. Nobody cares, nor should they. But to be fair, everything broke right for Carolina to win this thing. They start off against Ottawa, who has no goaltending. They got swept in pretty decisive fashion because, frankly, Ottawa stinks. Then, because of this exceptionally stupid playoff structure, they end up playing the winner of the 7 versus the 8 in the East in the second round, which was the Flyers over Pittsburgh. Both teams sucked. One team won, and then that team got their dicks kicked in by the Hurricanes in round 2. They avoid Tampa. They avoid Buffalo. They get Montreal, who barely survived the first 2 rounds, having won 7 games in both, having their goalie just save their asses in the 7th game. They have their way with Montreal. They avoid Colorado, they avoid Dallas, they avoid Minnesota, and they end up against the Golden Knights, who you might remember won 39 games this year. They play 82, which means they lost more than they won. They would not have even made the playoffs at all in the Eastern Conference, and the Eastern Conference also sucked. So, we said early on that it seemed like, hey, Carolina plays pretty well in the playoffs, like when they don't play the Rangers. A lot of truth to that. Rangers, very down year. Florida, injuries, down year. Everything just broke Carolina's way, and they got a cup. Listen, good for them. I would kill for that kind of good fortune to bestow itself upon the Rangers. People are opportunistic. They come out of the woodwork to make a note. Oh, the Hurricanes won a Stanley Cup without an elite goaltender. Goaltender makes like $5 an hour. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Also, they note that Vegas got to a cup final without an elite goaltender or a highly paid goaltender. Naturally, these people bring this up because they think Shesterkin's overpaid and so on and so forth. My friends, that is an asinine point of view, and I'm about to tell you why. Yes, if you have a very deep team, or a team with a collection of star players, you do not need elite goaltending. Carolina is a very deep team that plays a very specific system that works great for them. While they may not have that elite star player, Carolina, they have an overabundance of very good players. Aho, Svechnikov, Ehlers, Stankoven, Blake, Jarvis. It's a really nice roster, right? Vegas, despite losing more games than they won in the regular season, has a star-studded group. Jack Eichel, who I love and adore and wish was a Ranger. Mitch Marner, Mark Stone, Pavel Dorofeyev, Tomas Hertl. Ton of talent. That's what drives them. The Rangers do not have a deep team with an overabundance of very good players. The Rangers do not have a star-studded roster. So, ipso facto, the Rangers need elite goaltending as they have for 2 decades. If you watched that final, and I did, I wouldn't say I watched it intently. I didn't give a shit who won. I was living my life. Those 5-4 games, that's a result of your goaltending being ass more than anything else, right? Like, if either of these teams had Shesterkin, they would have swept the other in 3 games. Carolina was $8.5 million below the cap this year. So they could have absorbed Mika Zibanejad entirely to their roster and still been under cap. If you replace Freddie Anderson with Igor Shesterkin, they're still under cap. This idea that you can't pay for elite goaltending and win is a farce. And people just do not understand the cap to say this. And thank you, Connor, for the segue. They conveniently ignore that Sergei Bobrovsky and Andrei Vasilevsky, both elite, both highly compensated, won 4 of the last 7 Stanley Cups. They went to the finals twice more. Bobrovsky signed for 12.27% of the cap, which is higher than Igor's 12.04. Vasilevsky signed for 11.66% of cap, which is a rounding error away from Igor, and he was signed in the flat cap era, to be fair. Carey Price dwarfed everyone at 13.21% just for fun. And I wasn't going to get in a state tax discussion tonight, but that guy brought it up, so I talked about it. That helped them too. Can you win without an elite goaltender? Sure. But you need a lot of everything else to go right. And you need to play a way that hides your low-pay goaltending deficiencies. The Rangers play a way where their goaltender is asked to hide the deficiencies of everybody else. That's been the formula, so to speak. The results are what they've been. That's not likely to be changing. We've said before, and we will remind you again, that Igor Shesterkin signed for less of the cap than Lundqvist did on both of Lundqvist's 2 extensions. Igor Shesterkin signed below market. The uninformed fan will look at the sticker, the raw dollar amount, see 11.5 million and say, wow, he's overpaid. Could not be further from the truth. It's kind of like going to McDonald's and you see that a Big Mac value meal is like $12 and you're like, shit, that's insane. That was like $5 not that long ago. Well, the value of the dollar has changed, and so has the upper limit of the salary cap. Over the next few years, you're going to see very, very average players make upwards of $6 million annually on deals with some term on them. We're seeing that now. Charlie Coyle just signed 6 years, $6 million per in Columbus. Charlie Coyle stinks. Nick Schmaltz just signed 8 years, $8 million a year in Utah. You guys remember Alex Wenberg, that asshole that Chris Drury traded for, didn't do shit for us when he was here? Yeah, he got 3 years, $6 million per from the Sharks. So, like, if you're looking at this through this lens of yesteryear and the flat cap, then yeah, it seems kind of insane. But the cap's $104 million next year. And it's $113.5 million a year after. So a $6 million contract in 27-28 is a $4.3 million contract in 2021. That's almost a 50% increase. But it's the same cap percentage, which is why that's how you grade. Artemi Panarin signed here for $11.64 million when the cap was $79.5. That, my friends, was 14.29% of the cap. Today, that would be a $14.86 million deal. Next year, the year after, 27-28, it's a $16.2 million deal. That's the apples to apples comparison. So we're going to talk about free agency in a bit, and we'll touch more on this, but you have to break yourselves out of the flat cap mindset. You need to change the way you view player contracts and what they make, because the NHL is streaming music and you're rewinding a cassette tape with some of these comments. And notably, while we're on the topic of fan insanity, we saw people losing their minds over K'Andre Miller and Brett Howden. People just love to have something to be angry about, and then they go off and start enjoying revisionist history. So let's look at history for what it was. K'Andre Miller was never getting a contract here. He was abysmal defensively in 24-25. He single-handedly lost them games. I will never forget being at McHale's in Times Square, the Blue Shirt Underground party against the Senators, where K'Andre Miller lost the game by himself. Mm-hmm. He made mind-numbing errors regularly. Carolina was going to offer sheet him, and the compensation the Rangers would have gotten was a 1, a 2, and a 3. Instead, they traded him to Carolina for a 1, a 2, and prospect Scott Morrow. Everybody was on board at that time. Don't be consistent. Carolina runs a system that works for them, and it did well in hiding K'Andre Miller's mental deficiencies, which still popped up from time to time. If Miller got that deal, 8 years, $60 million from the Rangers, you'd all have gone to Drury's house with a pitchfork in flames. Please just be consistent one time. Brett Howden. Howden is nothing more than a third-line guy who went on a heater. Good for him. Never would have happened here. Howden, his last year here, did a ton of cardio skating around the Garden. Like, nobody was mad when he was traded, other than the fact that he was a piece from the McDonough trade. Didn't work out. The piece turned into Noah Lava, by the way. Just be consistent for once. In any event, Carolina won. Season's over. While we're on the topic, Vegas didn't win anything. Vegas was one of 31 teams that didn't win anything this year, like the Rangers. One team wins. It was Carolina. Fans of teams that lose like to rationalize that losing and want to give themselves something to feel good about, and no matter how you want to spin it, they lost. They won nothing. This game is played for rings and parades. Ask the Knicks. If you didn't get a ring and you didn't get a parade, you didn't win anything. Comments. Let's see. My man Key. I wore my 79 jersey when they glitched. I never bought that one. I got a couple. I never bought that one. Let's see. PJ, these morons argue about ego Christmas. It's bananas, 100%. Mike Faris, hold that comment. That's coming. I promise. At least we got the consolation first for Keandre. Mark Brown, that's where the cap floor is a problem too. Players get 5 million plus from teams that need to reach the floor. The players only getting around 2 normally. I don't know that it's 2, Mark. I will agree with you, but that's just the direction we're headed. The tide raises all boats. Howden became Chris Kontos this past season. Kontos still has the pitchfork. Lou, what's up, bud? Miller is camouflaged by Carolina forwards who play hard check, minimizing grade A chance for defense. Thank you. We don't do that. Like I said, everybody's like, oh, look, Keandre won a cup. It must have been a mistake. No. Just be consistent, please. One time. Okay. So, the Vincent Trocheck trade market, from a transaction standpoint, the big question, somewhat of a cloud that hangs over this offseason, remains what the Rangers are going to do with Vincent Trocheck. For the most part, every single solitary tea leaf that you can find indicates that, as we all kind of know, they're going to trade Vincent Trocheck. And this is a topic that keeps coming up as far as people either not believing that that's true, because they're just not living under a rock, the dumb rocks, or they say that they shouldn't trade him, and why would they trade him and all this. Okay. If you believe, genuinely, that it's in the best interest of the Rangers to keep Vincent Trocheck, I cannot wrap my head around your logic, and I disagree with it. And that's as nice as I'm going to say it. I don't get it, not a little bit. This is a perfect example of someone being a fan of Rangers players rather than being a fan of the Rangers. This team just finished with the third worst record in the National Hockey League. And people don't want to trade guys. Grow up. The team stinks. They need to make it so maybe one day it doesn't stink again. And moving Trocheck is a step in that direction. Let's just ignore the age for a second. Trocheck is the team's third line center behind Mika and JT, in whatever order you choose. Noah Laba, who was playing third line center last year relatively effectively, now slots into the fourth line. Zibanejad and Miller have full no movement clauses, and I really don't think either of them are going to be looking to leave, at least not at this juncture. Laba's a kid. You guys love kids, right? Trocheck being here blocks Noah Laba from moving up to the third line center. And that is, by any way you want to slice it, a net negative longer term for the Rangers and for Noah Laba, I might add. And then the age comes into play. He will turn 33 a week after the 4th of July. The majority of players in the history of the National Hockey League do not get better as they get older into their mid and late 30s. We have seen the best of Vincent Trocheck. It all goes downhill from here. He has spent essentially his entire Rangers tenure playing Robin to Artemi Panarin's Batman. It is sensible to assume, whether you love Vincent Trocheck or hate Vincent Trocheck, that a big portion of his offensive production came as a result of playing with Artemi Panarin. Artemi Panarin's not here anymore. So he's not going to be playing with anybody who has the offensive skill of Artemi Panarin. Ipso facto, the odds of Trocheck's offensive numbers declining is high. Very high. People will say he's on a great contract. Great. The Rangers don't need cap space. They're flush. His contract being a great contract is even more reason to sell and cash in that ticket for more future value. People will say that the Rangers need his leadership and his face-off skills. And I guess my question of that is, for what? They just finished third worst in the league. Even if you are of the belief that this is valuable to the Rangers. I am not. But if you are, do you feel that what he offers the Rangers today and potentially for 2 more years is of more value than a package of prospects and picks that may help the Rangers at some point in the future when hopefully they don't suck? You will remember BlueTruth was very critical of Chris Drury. We're not making this deal at the deadline. We felt at the time, given the market for centers, given Trocheck's cap hit, given the high coming off of Team USA's gold medal, that his value would never be higher. Now, whatever price Drury placed on him, that was not met. He remained a Ranger. I remain critical of the idea that the value now will come in higher than the value back in March. I don't foresee that. Would love to be wrong about that, but I don't foresee that. I don't foresee that because if I were an opposing GM, why would I pay more now for Vincent Trocheck for one less playoff run than I would have had if I got him over on my team in March? We'll see. But the idea that the center market would be more shallow in the summer, same as it was at the deadline, right? That was the thought process. And there was some certainty at the deadline, which no longer exists, as now we are starting to see players request trades, and that has a direct impact on the market. Dylan Larkin, longtime suffering Red Wings center, has requested a trade away from Detroit. Now, this one is a bit of a shocker, as 29-year-old Larkin grew up a diehard Red Wings fan in Michigan. He loved Steve Yzerman growing up as a kid. He went to Michigan University. He literally lived the childhood dream. The relationship with Yzerman must just be toxic at this point. Just dead. For all of the Drury haters and, the let's destroy and rebuild the team from scratch people. So far, at least, no star players requested to be traded away from the Rangers. If anything, they want to stay here. We can't get rid of them. Yzerman's been trying to rebuild the Red Wings since 2019 when he got the job. The Detroit Red Wings, original 16, they have not made the playoffs since 2016. They have not won a playoff round since 2012. They have literally won a single solitary playoff round in 15 years. The Rangers have built, destroyed, rebuilt, and are retooling again in that time frame. Be careful what you wish for. But Larkin's proclamation of wanting out is not good news for the Rangers looking to max out the value of Trocheck in a trade. For one, it eliminates Detroit as a possible candidate for Trocheck. I guess it's plausible if Detroit gets currents back for Larkin versus futures, they get something the Rangers want back for Larkin to flip. I don't see that as probable. I guess it's possible. I think this is awful for Detroit. I think I think it might be drawing board time, which is really unfortunate for Detroit. Ain't my problem. But it probably means they're not looking to add a 33-year-old center. For two, it will eliminate whatever team Larkin goes to from the market for Trocheck. Now, supposedly, Larkin wants to go to Minnesota. Oh, Team USA, shocking. Well, Minnesota was supposedly the lead dog to get Trocheck back in March. If they trade for Larkin, they certainly don't need Trocheck, but let's just say they wanted both. If they send out a big package for Larkin, after putting out a big package for Quinn Hughes, they're not going to have anything left. So they're probably out, would be my guess. And then, who's to say that we don't see more guys asked to be traded from other teams? Trocheck was a top commodity at the deadline. He's not anymore. And as time goes on, his rank among centers may drop even further. Who knows what Austin Matthews is doing? I have no idea. He might be happy they got the one pick, which we'll talk about. But that was part of the risk of holding on to him through the deadline, is you start leaving to chance a change in the status quo elsewhere that can devalue the item you're selling. Trocheck's got a 12-team no trade, drops to 10 teams on July 1st. He does have some control where he goes. Drury can say that the Rangers are fine to bring back Vincent Trocheck, happy to have him, love him on the team. They don't have to trade him. And that's great, right? That's all well and good. But, to run a convincing bluff every so often, you have to be holding the cards on occasion. And after the way Chris Drury was crucified for how he handled Barclay Goodrow, which again, he did nothing wrong, and I fully support it. And then how Trouba was shopped and then pulled that power move to remain a Ranger into the following season, which killed that season before it even started. I don't see how Drury can allow Trocheck back into the room, given what has gone down. That's not a Trocheck thing, right? Like, Trocheck's not a bad guy. He's not a me first guy. He's not a, hey, my wife is a doctor here, so you can't trade me guy. But the team needs to move on. Notably, and I think PJ made the comment, Trocheck hired Pat Brisson as his new agent. That sure smells to me like something is changing. The status quo is not the same around Vincent Trocheck. So we may be closer to a conclusion to this than ever. Time will tell how that goes. It does feel like this is coming to an end here. The reality of it is, like, he's just not going to be useful when this retool reaches whatever conclusion it's going to reach. They need to move him. Frankly, the quicker, the better. They got to remove the cloud from the team. And again, it's not him. Like, he's been an excellent Ranger, the best free agent signing of Drury's tenure by far. But, like, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't put it back in. So we'll see how it plays out. I do not think it is in the best interest of the room or the front office, to drag this out. I think everybody would be best served, like, getting it done and moving on. Mark Brown, can't trade him. My favorite, bought a jersey. Love you, bud. Rick Tartaglia, do I think he'll stay in the Eastern Conference? I don't know. And that's the thing, Rick. So because of the agent change, to me, that sounds like maybe like, Trocheck wants Brisson to be like, listen, like, my client would like to go to one of these teams. Can you make this happen? We're okay with that. And again, like, if you're trying to rebuild whatever people think, whatever, like, I mean, I'm sure that the Rangers will try their best to do right by Trocheck. He's got a 10-team no trade, so he can kind of figure that out. Con, in terms of consistency, there were plenty of people who opposed the Trocheck signing when it happened. There were, but I mean, hasn't that worked out swimmingly? I think it has. I mean, I don't think he was brought here to be a 2, but he played above his skill level. Good for him. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about Vincent Trocheck as a Ranger other than you got to go because I have no use for you. Don't take it personally. Don't let the thing hit you in the ass on the way out. PJ Laugh, doesn't take a leap. We're totally screwed. We'll get to that. At least we're not Red Wings fans. Shane Peterson, I think that might be a new name. Well, he has to go. I agree. I just don't think there's any realistic way that that's not true. I mean, again, team stinks. Why are we holding on to 33-year-olds? Right? Okay. Draft time. One of my favorite parts of the year. At the moment of this recording, the New York Rangers have the 5th and 26th overall selections in the 2026 first round of the draft. They will follow the Maple Leafs, the Sharks, the Canucks, and the Blackhawks at the top of round 1. Gavin McKenna is going to go 1. It ain't to us, and that stinks, but that we know. Huge stroke of luck for Toronto to get this pick, especially given the uncertainty, as we mentioned, around Matthews. Does he want to stay? Does he want to go? If you are a conspiracy theorist, and I am from time to time, the league did need this pick to go to Toronto, given how important the Leafs are financially, and because their old general manager, Brad Treveling, is a fucking moron and traded his next 2 ones away. McKenna is the new shiny toy in Toronto. I think that's pretty much the worst kept secret. Sharks are interesting. The Sharks are interesting at 2 because from an organizational standpoint, they have spent a lot of draft capital, really high-end draft capital, on forwards and just not a lot on defense. Ivar Stenberg is the consensus 2, but if San Jose stays here, they absolutely could take a defenseman. They won the lottery to move up too, so they were not planning for this. Of the defensemen, Chase Reed is the name that you hear linked to them the most, and that makes sense. If you're going to run a power play with a guy like Macklin Celebrini at it, you want the quarterback on the blue line to be as skillful as possible. That is exactly what Chase Reed is, just offensive dynamo. Vancouver is linked to Caleb Malhotra heavily. He is the son of their new coach, Manny Malhotra, drafted by the Rangers. Vancouver needs like everything, but center obviously is a need. Everything includes center. They got Marco Rossi from Minnesota in the Hughes deal. They'd love to find a way to get a sucker to take Elias Pettersson. Toronto might be that sucker. We'll see. Anyway, Malhotra and Rossi, that can be 2 top 6 centers for a very long time for a fully rebuilding Vancouver team. That seems to me like that's the direction it's going to go. Chicago is interesting because if Ivar Stenberg were to fall to them, that would be an amazing stroke of luck given the landscape, and it certainly may happen. They have made, guys, 11 first-round picks in the last 4 years. Almost 3 a year. Connor Bedard and Anton Frendel need wingers to play with, and Stenberg would certainly fit them like a glove. Countryman along with Frendel. They could use defensemen too, so it's not the end of the world if Stenberg goes ahead. They need the D as well. In the event Malhotra falls past Vancouver, maybe because they took Stenberg, then it's highly probable that Chicago goes defense here. I think they're not really taking centers. Which brings us to 5. And the New York Rangers, which is why you're watching the show. Okay. Conventional wisdom will tell you that this pick, based on how the board probably goes, will be a defenseman. Barring something crazy, let's assume McKenna goes 1, Reed/Stenberg goes 2, Malhotra goes 3, Reed/Stenberg goes 4. First off, that sucks. Because had the Rangers lost that one game to Chicago and didn't find 3 other points somewhere else, they would have guaranteed a top 4. It is what it is. I hope all you anti-tank people are really excited about those meaningless wins in March and April. People drive me nuts. So, in that event, it would likely come down to one of Carson Karls, Keaton Verhoff, Albert Smeets. So, this all goes back to what we talked about earlier with the impact of the Knicks on what the Rangers do. If the pressure is relieved, then they can be more long-term thinking with this pick. If the pressure is turned up, they might need to be a little more, we need someone who can make the roster soon. So, it may be a situation where they need a face of the retool, and the face needs to show up now, as opposed to being the best player 3 to 4 years from now, when the people who are in charge might not even be here. They have to think about themselves. Of those 3 names, they're all very interesting prospects in their own right. Keaton Verhoff was considered as high as 1 in this draft throughout the cycle. 17, 6'4". The Rangers love that size, and as Enzo Amore so well said, you can't teach that. From a profile standpoint, he's exactly what every team would want. Right shot defenseman, tall, has offense to his game. He spent last year at North Dakota, and some of the knock on him is that it was harder to gauge him this year versus, some of the kids coming up in Canada. I think it's just a different set of circumstances. It's kind of hard to kind of see where the growth was. He's a guy who's a faller. Now, as an investment guy, I prefer fallers because that tends to represent a value and a case where we, instead of, we overanalyze guys to try to find the flaws. His comp is Aaron Ekblad. Oh, God. Well, that would be terrible, right? The Rangers will absolutely consider Verhoff. He might even be considered at 2 by San Jose if they want to go defense. Carson Karls is a left side defender, which may make him interesting to the Rangers in that they can play him with Fox, whereas Verhoff would play behind Fox. Now, I know what you're thinking, Brian. You can't draft under the assumption that Fox is even here. And yes, that's fair. I'm not going to say that you're wrong. But again, what are the Rangers thinking? Are they trying to fast track someone to the pros? Is that a good idea? Well, based on Kakko and Lafreniere, probably not. But anyway, Carroll's very smooth skater, high hockey IQ, plays both ways, a very complete prospect in every sense of the word. He doesn't have Veerhoff's size, but that's small by any means. He absolutely is a consideration for the Rangers at 5. His pro comp is Charlie McAvoy, that kind of a player. If they're looking for the most pro-ready of the bunch, that's Albert Smeets. 6'3", 205, has been playing in leagues with grown men for years. Left side, Rangers will like that. He was on the Latvian team at the 26 Winter Games in Italy. He's going to be a little bit more on the defensive side than the offensive side. So that's what gives him the high floor. His pro comparison is Mo Seider from Detroit. Physical defender. Rangers can certainly use that. The maturity there is, he can potentially start on opening night. He did not look out of place in the Olympics. He's been playing against men. There's not a lot of guys on the roster ahead of him on the left side, so there's an easier opening to get there. That is something to consider. Chase Reed, as noted, is most often linked to San Jose at 2. If they go defense. Now, he's more of a Zach Werenski or an Adam Fox type because of the extremely high offensive skill. His defense is more cerebral than physical, which will bother some of you because you don't understand hockey, and that's okay. We help everybody. He's very mobile. He is that power play quarterback to the degree. That is exactly what he projects to be. If he falls to them, and the Rangers are concerned about keeping Fox long-term here, that's a hell of a contingency plan. People talk a lot about Viggo Bjork, but I can't for the life of me envision the Rangers considering him at all. He is a 5'9", $180 center. I'm 5'9". I'm not tall. I don't see this front office taking a small European center at 5. I do not think that is in their modus operandi whatsoever. Kid's got talent. High motor, comparisons to Braden Point, great. I don't see it for the Rangers. That's not a shot at the player, at least it's not really intended to be. But if you think about it, what would make you think that Chris Drury and or Mike Sullivan is going to want to spend the 5th overall pick in a draft on a 5'9" guy who is coming in as a center but may not even play center in the NHL? Maybe you have to be a wing. I don't see that, so I don't think that's on the table. If the Rangers are going to reach for a center, if Malhotra doesn't fall, and I don't want them to, but for the record, I think they would reach for Tynan Lawrence. Lawrence is probably a second-line center in the NHL. His comparisons are to Joel Eriksson Ek from Minnesota, two-way guy. So not likely to be that high-volume goal scorer. Not a small guy, 6 foot 185. I mean, he played at Boston University this past season. You know that when Drury hears that, he gets a little moist in his genitals. Really strong skater, good speed. Again, he's not going to jump off the page at you offensively, but he'll help all the way around. Had the Rangers been picking in the top 10, 8, 9, I think he'd be more of a consideration. I do not think it's the right pick at 5. I can't rule it out because, again, if they think they need to walk away with a center, it's probably him based on no Malhotra and Bjork being 5'9". He strikes me as someone that this group, not us, the team, would absolutely value more than other teams. All in all, I think if the Rangers were picking as high as 2, they would take Caleb Malhotra. I get a lot of vibes of 2019 and 2020 when the Rangers desperately needed centers, but they were just not in position to take them. Say whatever you want about Kakko and Alexi Lafreniere, but those are the picks that every single team makes in those spots. The Rangers played the hand that they were dealt. The lottery didn't go their way this time around. They fell to 5. It is what it is. Enjoy your stupid-ass wins in March and April, you people that are really enjoying that junk. Anyway, I'm trying to get over that. It's not working. If they go defense, my spider sense tells me that I think Smeets interests them a little bit more than Carl's. And it's not just from an NHL ready standpoint. I mean, that's certainly a big one, but it's the combination that he plays left side. He's a bit stronger defensively than Carl's is. And also he's probably more NHL ready. I think Well, I'll acknowledge that, I guess, being a European is not in his favor with this front office. Again, I just think that they prefer North American guys, predominantly American guys. I think that's their MO. They haven't taken a European in the top 2 rounds with Adam Sikora in 2022. Like, it's just not something that they normally do. I think they salivate over Keaton Verhoff with the size, but I wonder if him being right shot works against him given Adam Fox's presence. Chase Reed is excellent. He probably won't be there for them, but would they essentially go for a Fox clone? Think about that. Carls is probably the popular pick amongst the fan base. I think a lot of the mock drafts have that going that way. I wouldn't be upset with that at all. So, gun to my head. If the top 4 is the top 4 that we mentioned, some permutation of McKenna, Reed, Malhotra, and Stenberg, then I think it's between Smeets and Carls. And their selection, that may clue you into, where they think they are, right? So, Carls has the higher ceiling. Smith has the higher floor. I'm a high ceiling guy, right? Like, if I go back to the Vitaly Kravtsov pick, that's the pick that I am making. I understand it didn't work out, but he had the highest ceiling there. He was the direct opposite of Lias Anderson, who had the highest floor, supposedly, at 7 the year before, because he was supposed to be able to walk onto your third line. But he was a third line center. Wasting 7 on a third line center, pretty idiotic to me. Rangers did that, not surprising. And they kind of overcorrected the other way the next year. If I was taking any defenseman and I had my choice of the litter, I would go Reed for sure, because I draft for the highest upside. If they bust, they bust. I honestly do not care. If they hit, I've got immense, immense value. After Reed, then I think it's between Carls and Verhoff. Not a shot at Smeets, but the other 3 have higher offensive upside. I think that's where the modern game is. We'll only continue to go that direction. But I'm kind of at the point right now that, you know what? Like, any of these guys are fine picks. Have I talked myself into that? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think we've overanalyzed this to the nth degree. Do I have a preference? Yeah, I told you. It was Chase Reed. I'm not going to be upset if they take any of the other 3 defensemen. Where I am nervous and what would make me upset is if, they reach here and they take Tynan Lawrence. This idea that they would draft a center with a ceiling of a 2 with the 5th overall pick, like, that's vomit inducing, if I'm being honest with you. Like, if it's not Malhotra, it should be a defenseman. All of this, by the way, assumes that Stenberg goes ahead of them. If Stenberg falls to them, they have to do it. I can't. There's no way. Just know, if it's Lawrence, I don't like it. And I will be as consistent with that as possible. I'm not going to knock the kid, but I hate the pick, hate the logic. It's not as if the Rangers need only a center. They need the best player available, as Sav said. At 5, take the best player, period. I agree. Might they prefer center? Sure. But it's not like they're overflowing with defense in the system either. So, like, they don't have to reach positionally. That's not the spot they're in as an organization. So if it's defense, that's fine. I'm good. Lottery did not fall their way. Play the hand you're dealt. Then, at 26, I think that depends a lot on what they do at 5. If they take a defenseman at 5, I really can't imagine they take a defenseman at 26. There's that barrel guy people like. I don't see that happening if the Rangers are there. They're not going to go 2 defensemen. I cannot foresee. Could it happen? Sure. Is it likely? No. Given the prospect pool and adding a high-end defenseman to it, I think 26 should be as big of a swing for the fences as possible on a center specifically. Now, obviously, when you're picking 26, you don't really know how the first 25 picks are going to go. So centers around this area in the mocks that I've seen, Maddox Dejanay, 6'4", 196, shoot first guy with size. Jack Hextall, 6 foot, $188. Does a lot of things well, 2-way guy. It just needs to be a high swing pick to try to knock the ball outside of the park. Not even in the seats. I needed to physically exit the building and go over the highway. If he busts, I do not care. So be it. But I need someone, if it's a center, that can play top line center one day. That's the projection. I need that ceiling. If the floor on that ceiling is that he never plays a pro game, I don't care. I do not want a third line guy with a first round pick. I can find third line guys. Rangers have like 7 of them right now. If it were up to me, which obviously it's not, but if it was, I would be looking to trade 26 for immediate help. Guys like Mason McTavish from Anaheim. That interests me. That sort of idea. He's a guy that was 3rd overall pick a few years ago. He just turned 23. He's a center. I like that. Like, that's perfect. That's perfect. And if Anaheim wants to move off that contract, $7 million a year, because they need that money to go lock up a guy like Leo Carlsson, and they don't have a 1 this year because they got sent to Washington for John Carlson and he's gone. Like, I think something like that makes a lot of sense. We didn't mention this earlier, but I think now is a good time to mention it. The Rangers, I think, would love to move up from 5, which Rick has asked. Do you think they could move up in the draft? Rick, I think if they could, they would like to try to. But, up until yesterday, I thought the Sharks would make an excellent trade partner, and then they went ahead and made a different deal for a defenseman. The Sharks traded 20 to Buffalo for Michael Kesselring and 27, which certainly can take them out of the Braden Schneider running, unfortunately for us. But let's just say it's draft night, and the Sharks still want a defenseman, and the Rangers want a forward. They fit each other well. Would San Jose take 5 and Schneider for 2, which allows the Rangers to jump Vancouver for Malhotra? I mean, maybe prior to yesterday. Now I feel like the Sharks made their deal. I think I'd probably rather have Kesselring than Schneider, personally. And San Jose didn't have to drop 3 spots in round 1. They dropped 7 later, which is kind of the same pick. Great trade for them, I think. So, look, it'll be an interesting night next Friday. I will be watching the events unfold poolside of the Polynesian in Disney World, sipping a margarita. So my seat will probably be better than yours. That's okay. But I'll be very intently watching to see what this team does. Let's just hope and pray to God they don't screw it up, because they have a tendency to do that. Sav, what if St. Louis offers their... yeah, I would do that. I would do that because I think that there's not a lot of difference. I think I could get 2 guys there. Like, I think that, like, if they don't love the defenseman and they really want a center, because now the problem with that, Sav, if you go down to 10 and then Lawrence goes, now you're kind of scratching clawing. But I think quantity matters for them. Kind of, I know it's such an outlier. I was hoping to go with Lawrence. I want a good young center to add depth. No, I hear you, but that's the problem. Kind of is like he does not profile as a 1. I can't put 5 into a guy that can't profile into a 1. Not with the defensemen that are there. Cup of haters. I used to love Enzo. Hey, I heard he's coming back, by the way, BJ. Okay. Free agency. All right, let me get this out of the way first. This free agent class sucks. All these July 1st free agency frenzy, which of course I'm going to watch, right? I'll take off work and watch. They're going to be the most boring things you ever saw. Now, the Rangers have a boatload of cap space. Everyone kind of does at this point. And there are very few people to spend it on. How they attack free agency is going to speak volumes as to what the plan is now post Knicks title. Everything kind of just ties into things. I think that the events of the day have changed the status quo. So again, just like we discussed for draft picks, the organizational timeline is going to come into play here. How much pressure is Chris Drury under for a quick turnaround? Did the Knicks win make it better or make it worse? Time will tell. Back on episode 51 in April, I said I had a lot of concern that they're going to try and rush this, which I do not think is in their best interest, but I understand the thought process. Since that point, that concern has grown. Adam Fox, Igor Shesterkin are not getting any younger. They're in their primes, and both the players and the franchise don't really want to waste their primes trying to build for a time that once they get there, These guys aren't who they were and who they are now. I get that. There's been some talk of Gavrikov that he may want to go back to LA because he didn't come here and sign up for this. And that's, I get it. You know, he thought this was going to be a team that was going to try and win, and Panarin was here, and the landscape has just changed immensely in 12 months. The Rangers like to do anything with him. It's year one of a 7-year deal. So, I mean, like, you know, I mean, if he asked to leave, like, you know, maybe, but I'm not as worried about that, I think, as other people are. But my very real and very deep concern is that they're going to overcorrect the lack of aggression at the 24 deadline on Gensel and just be really over aggressive now. So to give a poker analogy, they're holding like pocket threes and they're going to bet them like they're aces. You may remember, maybe you don't, but I do, comments that Mike Sullivan made before they played Buffalo. I think it was in March. And he said, direct quote, "When you look at the history of the Sabres and how that team was built, it's taken them over a decade to get where they're at. Their lineup right now is littered with first-round draft picks that have developed and aged over the course of time. I don't know that that's the model we would apply here." You look at letter 2.0, the jury typed in a chat GPT and got it, you know. This will not be a rebuild. This will be a retool around our core players and prospects. We will target players that bring tenacity, skill, speed, and a winning pedigree. Anyway, these are not quotes that indicate to me that they are looking to be patient. And this was months ago. So what impact does the basketball team winning have here? Their actions will speak louder than their words. And I do understand it. Again, Fox and Shesterkin, I totally get it. I just have serious doubts that they're going to be able to thread that needle. Okay. Drury probably would not have the leash to see the other side of a full teardown. Sullivan probably didn't come here for that either. So again, a lot of how they're going to conduct business will center around perception. If they are genuinely concerned about fan apathy or keeping their jobs, they need to at least appear, again, keep up appearances, that they're trying to make this quick. From the standpoint of keeping Fox and Shesterkin on board, same thing. It really gives me vibes of when they did the first letter, and then Lundqvist said he wanted to be part of the solution. Now, he was 35 when that letter came out, 2018, and he had to know, a stupid guy, that the odds of the team getting back to contention while he was still himself were low. Really low. He didn't show it, but he had to know, but the rest of us knew. So from the standpoint of Fox and Shesterkin, like, how long of a leash will they give before saying they'd like to be traded elsewhere to try and win while they're in their primes? Do they need to perceive that the Rangers are trying to turn this around quickly for either or both to want to stay? And if one goes, the other has to go too. It makes no point at that point. So as weak as this free agent class is, if the Rangers want to be aggressive, there will be some names that stand out. Might make you nauseous when I talk about them, but there will be the names that stand out. And you're gonna see a theme here is, especially with the UFAs, is like everybody's pretty much on the wrong side of 30. So anybody this applies to, like, I think that they need to be really tight on the term of the deal. Like, I'd rather give some of these guys more money for shorter so that they don't have to worry about the back ends of some of these deals for these over 30 guys. Some would be decent options for the Rangers, and I do mean decent options. Like, no one's gonna, I think, pop off the page here. And some could be potentially traded at the deadline if the team is as bad as we think it might be, which would be fine, by the way. So we'll look at UFAs first. And please let the record show I am being crystal clear. I do not love anybody here. I don't know that I moderately like anybody here. Like, it's bad. But anyway, we'll start at the top. Alex Tuch is the belle of the ball this year, and we know historically the New York Rangers have a fetish to sign the belle of the ball. Whether that's Brad Richards or Marian Gaborik or Artemi Panarin or fill in the blank, they're not shy about going after the big name. Now, In a normal free agent cycle, Alex Tuck's probably the 6th or 7th best guy you can sign. But in this class, in this remedial math class, he is the star of the show. He's a 30-year-old right winger. Went to Boston College, has that Boston connection. 6'4", 219, 33 or more goals in 3 of the last 4 seasons. He certainly fits the mold of what we think the Rangers want. He'd have been a hell of an ad like a few years ago when it mattered. No, whatever. Conceivably, he would be JT Miller's right wing with Will Cooley on the left. I think that's probably the way that would pan out if it goes that way. Now, the allure here is that all he costs them is money, and they have plenty of it. It's not assets and money, it's just money. And for the first time in forever, they have money. However, with the shallowness of the free agent pool and 90% of the league being flush with cash, you don't need an economics degree or to be a financial planner like myself to know that the market's going to drive this price up simply because of scarcity. I would be shocked if he doesn't make at a bare minimum $10 million a year plus on a 6-year deal. I think it's probably more because once the bidding starts, it ain't going to be fun. So if you're the Rangers, do you lock in a 30-year-old for big money now? Are you in position to do that? Do you need to do that to show James Dolan or Adam Fox or Igor Shesterkin or the fan base that you're going to try to turn around quickly? Is it even in your best interest to do so? A lot of questions. Tuck is the kind of guy that's absolutely in their DNA to sign. And I do think they're going to end up being aggressive. Now, I have a lot of concerns about it. A lot. They may not get him. They may get outbid. But I think they're going to try. Mario Ferraro was a left side defenseman they've been linked to many times in the past. Former San Jose Shark. He was a 49th overall pick for them in 2017. He's 27, 5'11". Career highs in goals and points last year with 7 and 23 respectively. The Rangers have a hole, pretty big hole, on their left side of their defense, even if Gavrikov stays, which I believe he's going to stay. They ended the year with Drew Fortescue on a cup of coffee and Matt Robertson on that side. That's not good enough. Ferraro plays a physical game. He's got a bit of Ryan Lindgren in him. Block shots, hits, not a terrible puck mover. He'd be like a really easy slot with Will Borgen on pair two. It's a clear need for the Rangers, although I didn't want to sign Ryan Lindgren because his style of play is not conducive to a long deal or a long productive career. I have some of those concerns about Ferraro, but he's someone that, like, again, like where there's smoke, there's fire. Like, he's been linked to the Rangers so many times that he's absolutely someone I can see the Rangers being in on. If the Rangers do that 10-by-6, get the bottle out. He gets 10 million plus. I'm out at 8. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. No, I get it. I'm not disagreeing. Again, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. However, Susan, I'll give you an analogy, right? So I've always said the general managers, they don't really care about signing long-term big money deals because either A, they win and nobody cares, or B, they get fired because it doesn't work out and it's somebody else's problem. So if Chris Drury gives him 11-by-6 and then Chris Drury gets fired, it's somebody else's issue. If the Rangers win, nobody remembers the contract. Nobody cares. Could care less. Nobody remembers, well, I do, that the Rangers gave up a lot of Tony Amonte and Doug Waite and Todd Marchant the year they won the cup because they won the cup. If they lose Game 7 of the Devils, we remember those a lot differently than we do now. So, yeah. It has to be a quick turnaround. Drury will be out. Retool my ass. Sounds like an adult video. Kind of might have rented. It disturbs you that it could happen. It could happen. It could happen. Okay. Next victim. Bobby McMahon is a bit of a late bloomer, having really gotten to the NHL in earnest at age like 27 in Toronto. He had 29 goals last year between time in Toronto and Seattle. He's 30, 6'2", 217. Nice player, but I think ideally he's a third line guy. Like, do the Rangers really need bottom 6 forwards? Like, don't we have like an abundance of those? Like, that's the one thing they're kind of overflowing with. Now, don't get me wrong. I would not be upset to add a guy like him, cost dependent. I don't think he moves the needle. Would he be an improvement what they have? Yeah. But if they're going to move Cooley up with JT, that does open up a spot on line 3. I could see that working. I just feel like wherever he signs, we're going to look at that contract and be like, that's a lot for that guy. But that's the free agent class, right? It's a combination of everybody got money and there's nobody good to sign. So it raises the tide of all boats and it's going to be fun. Rangers start from scratch, no free agents, just get more players in the draft and trade for more. You can sign a player like Tuck for now. It makes no sense. There are 12 players away from winning a cup. I can't disagree with you at all. If we agree that a top GK combined with a good surrounding cast can win, then we can turn this around very quickly. Yeah, but I don't know that the surrounding cast becomes good enough. I hear exactly what you're saying. Yes, look, if they get into the playoffs, nobody wants to play the Rangers because it's Shesterkin. Like, I get that, but like, again, like you're trying to hit like a straight flush, I think is the problem. Brian, what's up, buddy? Problem with big money normally equals big term. Yeah, which is scary with these 30-something-year-olds. Yeah, 100%. The back end deal is going to be ugly, but because the way the cap is going, Brian, like it doesn't hurt the way it used to. It used to be a bullet hole. Now it's just like, you got to stitch up. You cut yourself because you're, like it's different. You know what I mean? The cap increases do lessen the effects of some of those things. Not entirely, but to a degree. Beck Malenstein has a ton of speed, which we know the Rangers have absolutely none of. Not a lot of scoring with him. He has a career high 7 goals this year. Like the world on fire. He's not a top 6 guy, like clearly. So again, like with McMahon, do the Rangers really need bottom 6 forwards? This one, well, like, does he do anything different than what they have now other than skate fast? Probably of the names I've listed, costs the least, but it's this market, he skates fast, he hits. They kind of like that. But like, again, like what's it costing me? Victor Arvidsson had a resurgent year in Boston last year, 25 goals, 29 assists. I think he would be an interesting name to play with JT Miller. Plays with tenacity, good forechecker. I feel like he fits like what Sullivan's trying to do. He is 32, so not a spring chicken by any means. The term here is really important, but if he would take more money and less term, he could be a nice fit. Also eminently tradable if they suck. So if you get him on a 1 to 2 year deal, that's somebody you can trade. You can even retain money to trade and just buy an asset with the player. I kind of like that idea. Not opposed to that. Oliver Bjorkstrand, another really interesting piece. So he's been a shoo-in for 20 goals for the past 7 years in a row before the production dropped last year in Tampa. He's 31. Similar spot to Arvidsson, right? Like term needs to be short for it to make sense. I think he will catch some offers. Again, somebody who could be tradable, right? Like you have this space. You can buy a player and then trade him at the deadline for picks. It's fine. What's wrong with that? Scott Lawton is interesting because he just strikes me as someone like Mike Sullivan kind of gets moist over, right? Excellent face-off guy, strong defensive game, played many years in Philadelphia before bouncing around from Toronto to LA. Now, again, 32. So term, keep it short. Would not be a bad fit. If you believe that, you're trying to move on from Trocheck, he's a good face-off guy. So that offsets some of that. If you trade Trocheck for Rasmus replaced with Lawton, I don't know that really makes a huge difference. Again, my concern would be blocking Laba, but depending on what I'm paying Lawton and depending on what I'm getting for Trocheck, like I can kind of rationalize that. As long as you give out no trade calls, they can't. Well, Boris, I talked about this before. Every team does it. Every team does the no trade thing because players in a competitive market, if you don't give it to them, somebody else will. They just, like they don't want to be sent to Calgary without saying yes. You can trade a guy with a no trade as long as you don't send him somewhere doesn't want to go. So, I mean, that's very much table stakes to me. Like, I just think that you're not going to sign anybody without that. Please don't trade Schneider, young and a future leader on the team. Bring in Smeets. Just keep adding that decor. Build this team from Shesty out. Jay, I don't know that Schneider is long for this team. He has not gotten better the last couple of years. He's up for a contract. Him and Trocheck are the most tradable commodities. They got to do something. if you gun to my head, I think he gets traded. I don't know if Drury's setting a price too high that he won't. That's probably your best bet if you don't want him to go. Again, two people to be really upset if he gets traded are Braden Schneider and my son Braden, because he likes Braden Schneider because of his name. I told him I could trade. He's like, no. 8 years old. I take that back. Rangers and NMCs like candy. They do. But they do to the people that are signing long deals, because that's how you get those players to sign those deals. It's not this big thing people make it out to be. I am hesitant to get involved with RFAs around the Rangers, and I say that because the draft comp is high. And if they're going to end up picking high again next year, like, that is a hell of a risk to take. So, like, if you offer a Jason Robertson or a Leo Carlson over 11.9 a year, the comp on that is 4 first-round picks. 4 first-round picks. If you're trying to go so high the other team won't match, you're going to have to clear 11.9 for these guys. And with where the Rangers are, I think it has to give you pause. Like, I don't envision a scenario anyway where either player doesn't get matched regardless. Like, I think Dallas and Anaheim match whatever it is, then figure it out later. They have to dump. So I'm not of the belief that Robertson or Carlson is really a viable idea. I think it's a pipe dream. I think Robertson either gets signed or gets traded. I don't think the Rangers have the assets to trade for him. I think Carlson's not going anywhere. Someone who isn't a pipe dream, that Mike Faris, I think it was, that made the comment earlier, was Pavel Dorofeyev. Now, he's interesting because if the Rangers can keep the offer under 9.5, the comp on that is a 1, a 2, and a 3. Do I want to give that up? No, but if you feel Dorofeyev is worth a 1, I think that that's fair. The 2 and the 3 don't really matter to me. 25 years old, young, great. He has back-to-back 35-goal seasons. This is a top 6 player. This is what they don't have. This is exactly what they need. 6'1", not a small player, ton of talent. He gives the Rangers an offensive element they currently don't have. Now, look at Vegas' cap. There's 11-7 open or so. They have 10 forwards, 5 defensemen signed. They could certainly match the 9.5, but then it gets really tight elsewhere. So, like, I think they probably still would, and then they would figure it out. But, like, that I think is a more realistic shot because, again, a 1 and 2 and a 3 is doable. I don't love it, but I'll do it because I would just trade that if I wanted to. Like, look at it from the standpoint of the trade comp is just the RFA signing comp is just a trade. I would do a 1, 2, and a 3. Would you give up 4 first-round picks for Jason Robertson? Not knowing what they are and not having any protection? Like, I don't know that you would. I don't know that you would. Like, that's a lot. I think that's a lot. Joseph Colorado, one of the 4 thirds, and Berard for Drury. Yeah. So Pete, the comment was, yeah. So the RFA offer sheet would be Dorofeyev. And Dave, yes, you did mention we talk. I know. I didn't disagree with you. I just said, like, but I wouldn't give him more than 9.5. I wouldn't get on the hook for more than 1 first-round pick in comp. I don't think I would do that. And yeah, Schneider isn't physical enough for who Schneider is. I completely agree. And that would be the reason that I'd want to make the move. Because we know who he is. Other teams apparently overvalue him. I don't know. So, in the coming weeks, a lot will start to get answered. We'll see who they draft. We'll see who they trade away. We'll see who they trade for. We'll see who they sign, who they don't sign. Again, this is the part that's fun for me. I really enjoy this time of year because this is where, the table gets set for the future and what happens in the fall. As I mentioned earlier, I will be watching the draft live at the Polynesian by the pool. So I'll have a great view of things. Depending who they draft, I might need another drink. Maybe there'll be some Disney magic. Maybe somebody falls to 5. That would be great. I might go live for the 5th pick. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to be on vacation, whatever. It's going to be hot, too. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a heat guy. I know that's kind of strange saying I'm going to Disney World in June, but I'm not afraid of heat. But I think if there's one thing that I need to, like, just voice and just, like, put out into the world, I need you all, and again, if you're watching the show, like I know, like you guys are the smarter fans, and I'm not trying to like blow smoke up your ass. What I'm saying is like I deal with a lot of morons, and I don't think it's you. So take that as the compliment it's intended to be. I enjoy interacting with you, and the majority of people, some people are just dumb. The Rangers need a lot of improvements. They do. They are 2 top 6 forwards short. They're an entire second pair defense short. Like, this is not an overnight fix. There are 3 ways to improve a team. Option 1 is free agency. We just detailed some names in the free agent pool. It is a dumpster fire. It won't always be that way, but it's that way right now. Option 2 is via trade. The Rangers have very little in the form of marketable assets that you'd actually want to move. And all the people are horrendously overvaluing everyone, and nobody's available because apparently a team that finished 3rd worst in the league, you can't break them up. Okay. Option 3 is through the draft. So the next time that you see me like hoping they lose games for a high pick, like that's why. Like there's no easy solutions here, guys. Not at all. And they need to they need to start this off with some high picks until the free agent market regulates somewhat, and then maybe have some more assets to trade, but you got to get to that point first. You need to ask yourself, what's more important to you? Cosmetic playoff appearances or building for something that can actually win? And maybe to do that, that means you may have to just lose for a few years to build up the assets to do it. So what's important to you? All I want is a Stanley Cup. I don't need my team to be average so that I can see them make the playoffs and get their dicks kicked in. That does nothing for me. If it does something for you, like great, but I just think your priorities are completely misplaced. We do not share that. For the next show, we'll probably catch up after a few days of free agency, like when we get some answers to these questions. It'll be very interesting to see how they kind of, how this all plays out. Call Dallas for Bork. They need to move money. That's possible. Yes, that is possible. That is possible. Where does Green Tree is probably in the minors or on the 3rd line. See, the problem with Green Tree, Dave, is like I think that like he's middle 6. Like he's not a. I think if he ends up on the 2nd line, that would be great. I don't see that. That would be awesome. I think that's his ceiling. Bathurst Romano could be something to keep an eye on going to the deadline this season, maybe in the summer. Last year of his contract, upcoming UFA, just making sure Sci-Fi hasn't cracked 30. Yeah, but here's the thing, though, right? So if it's a trade, Bri, like I don't think there's a lot of trades where the Rangers offer is best. So like you're going to have a guy that has trade protection want to come to the Rangers for a lot of the reasons I explained earlier about, what it means to play in New York and win in New York. So in lieu of that, like I just feel like if the Rangers make an offer, like 5 teams beat it like relatively easily. I think that's kind of where we are right now. Draft's the biggest gamble of all. Kids are so young. The worst sounds of the other 2 that you mentioned. Yeah, but it's the only option. There's no one to trade and no one to sign. It is what it is. Yes, I get it, but I can root for a tank. PJ, I watch every game twice. Like, do I need to watch them beat Nashville in early January? Couldn't care less. It does nothing for me. And then they get into the playoffs, and then they end up just losing. Like, for what? Like, if you're not good enough to win, like, lose. Get something for it. Christian, love the Jay Leach hire for Hartford. Like I think that again, that's a guy who they want to interview for the head coaching spot. So they got to overhaul their minor league. It's not been good. To their credit, I mean they've also been trying to win, and they've been trading picks away to try to win. So like that makes sense. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, Hartford's been terrible." Well, yeah. I mean you're coming out of a contention window. We were trading picks to try to win. Should have done more of that. Maybe they would have, but. Like, I think they need to focus on that. I think it's organizational priority. That's why a guy like that, that's a great hire. Now, I think the concern with that, Christian, is how long he stays. Because, like, I think the NHL will come calling. at some point. Now, one thing too, Roger's point here. Just because you get the pick does not mean you have to use the pick on a player. Like if Toronto wanted to put that one pick on the market, which essentially means Gavin McKenna, you get a lot for that, right? So like if an offer came, if Vegas said, we'll give you Dorofeya for the 5th, like I think that you have to think about it. I do. And then it comes on the idea of retool versus rebuild, because if you're retooling, you're trying to get better quicker. Again, if they have the pressure that they got to get out of this quickly, they're looking for more NHL ready guys, young guys, professional players, not projects. Mike Babcock is hysterical to me. I was talking to Sean Stein of Two Guys, One Cup, which again, they're wonderful people. I really enjoy their content. I think you should watch them too. Sean is more optimistic than I am, but that's okay. We're different people. He thinks that, Connor signed off on this. Like why there's no way he didn't. Yeah, but I'd be curious second level on that. If like Connor's trying to get a nice easy exit out of there, and he wants to have a conflict with Mike Babcock to grease those wheels. Conspiracy theorists, sure. Just saying. Jordan Spence would be great. I would really like that. I just don't know what it would cost. I would trade Schneider for him. I don't know how you would feel about that. Being someone that didn't want to trade Schneider, I would be okay with that. I don't think they're in the Trocheck market, but that would be awesome. Or he would not even go there. So yeah, I mean, that's again, young guy. Like that's doable, right? Like that's, I think, the kind of guy that they're looking for, whether they should be looking that way or not. Again, we'll probably touch base when I come back from Disney, and free agency at least had a couple days to kind of flesh itself through to see if we do anything. If anything big happens, then I'll just pop on and we'll do an emergency, because we always do that. Thank you all for watching tonight. Thank you all for your interactions, your support of the page. I know that the people that I do a lot of talking to, people that I talk to on the page like all day long, people that really, I think people that get me, right? Like I can be a sarcastic prick when I need to, and like I'm good at it. I don't block anyone as a rule, but like I really enjoy making people that don't like me block me. Like that's fun. Like I don't let them win. I anger them enough to get them the hell out of my face, but they make that decision, not me. They self-select out. That is how I win personally. But again, Susan, Mark, PJ, Jay, Brian, Dave, Rick, Mark. I mean, these are people like I talk to you guys constantly, and we all love this team. We all want this team to win something. Of course we do. We may have different approaches on how to do it, but generally, even if we disagree, like there's some logic to our points, and that's great. I had no issue with that. But people that come at me with these just idiotic cap comments, like, "Oh, this guy," no, you have no clue what the fuck you're talking about, and I'll correct you again and again until either you get smarter or leave. That's me, right? So again, thank you all for your support. The follower account continues to grow, even though of my best efforts to piss as many people off as possible and get the shallow cheerleaders out of the way. I hate those people. Anyway, I'm not even the antagonist. I don't think I'm an antagonist. I think that people come at me and then I have to correct them, and then they get mad that I corrected them. Whose fault is that? How about don't be wrong? Have we thought of that as an option? Oh, I would only give Igor like 7.2. That's cool. You pull the number right out of your asshole. What's 7.2? What does that mean? Where'd you get that from? Rangers need cap space. Sure. Okay. Boris. Okay. I am of the belief that Caleb Malhotra is the number 2 player on the Rangers draft board. Might even be number 1. I try. I don't know. Maybe because I'm in vacation mode. I'm not as buttoned up today. I'll work on it. We're not subject to the FCC rules by any means. Oh my God, PJ, those people drive me nuts, man. Like I don't understand. Like why? Like George Carlin said, and I live my life this way. Imagine how dumb the average person is, and then realize that half the people are dumber than the average person. And they find me. Oh, blue dork. Like, you think I give a shit what you have to say about me? I couldn't care less. I got guys making memes of my face. How much real estate do I own in these people's heads exactly? Like, is that supposed to bother me? Nothing bothers me. I think it's hysterical that you're taking the time out of your day to do it. That means that I own you. They don't get it. Like, they just don't. Every time I put bait out and they take it, I win. And I'm laughing, and they're like, they're trying to say mean things to me. The fuck do I care? I don't know you from Adam. Why would I take your opinion seriously on any? Who cares? And Susan enjoys it the most. I know she does, because every time there's not much that she misses because she likes it all. That's great. She gets it. Like, I like. Oh, you're a big dork. Oh, you think the Rangers should lose games? Like, yeah, I do think the Rangers should lose games because I'm trying to win a Stanley Cup, not be entertained to have a beer on a Tuesday. Like, I need to win something. I don't care. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, I probably should claim it on my taxes, but there's a lot of low value on the real estate that I own. But anyway, Brian, yeah. And then I correct people. Oh, you're just posting for I'm like, what did you click on? What do you click on? What does that mean? Oh, you're posting for attention. No, I'm not. I want you to go away. I want you to get so mad that I'm just exposing your idiocy and your just stupidity that you self-select and leave. But they keep coming because I'm like a human fly killer. I don't even know the thing, the blue light thing, you know? Yeah, so Susan, like, that's my take, right? Like, I don't block anyone. Like, I feel like if I block you, then you beat me and I don't lose. I'll just keep attacking people until they leave on their own. They were, but they also don't pay state taxes. And everyone loves to come at me on that because they don't understand basic math. Saying something, Mark, you're a fine human being. I'm sure you'd rather me tell you that than to go F off, right? Yes, we do. My day ones know. This has been the MO since this is episode 52. We've been through the highs and the lows. There's a lot more lows coming. Yes. But I just think the people that come at me have no idea. Like, I'm very good at using a filter to, like, say something mean that doesn't get me in trouble in my personal life. But like, oh, dude, you look at blue dork. Oh, these are so. Okay, you're on my page, buddy. Like, don't come to my page. I don't care. But you do, right? I'm reminded of Howard Stern's movie. The title escapes me, but I believe they said that people that liked Howard Stern back in the day would listen for an hour a day. People that hated Howard Stern listen for 2 hours a day. I got a lot of haters, and it's fun. It is fun. I enjoy the hell out of that. It's the best. It's actually really funny. Like, because every so often, like, Twitter will show me a comment that someone says, oh, this BlueTruth guy said this stupid. I'm like, you're talking about me to other people? Awesome. Yes, private parts. Anyway. So yes, you'll probably see something of me with my feet up and a very refreshing beverage on Friday night of next week, as God forbid if this team does something. Guys, if they take Tynan Lawrence, I'm going to lose my mind. And I can totally see it happening too. I can totally see it happening. And it's not going to be good. I might drown myself in the Polynesian pool. Nah, I probably won't do that. But yeah, at least I'll be in the most magical place on earth for the Rangers to piss me off like nobody's business. Again, thank you all for your support, especially the people watching, because I love you guys. You are what makes this fun. Yes, annoying people is a lot of fun, and I really enjoy that. But having intelligent conversation with y'all, I really enjoy that too. So thank you for that. Pink Whitney. So I'm a margarita guy. PJ, I am not wearing a jersey in 95-degree heat. I have a Mickey Mouse Rangers t-shirt. That I'll wear. I'll probably wear that on Friday because it's draft day. I am not wearing a hockey jersey. I will literally sweat through it. It's not good. For somebody who doesn't like it is 65 in my house all year round. Like I'm very comfortable. It's going to be about 105. You know. So, hey Pete, how are you? Yeah. So I've done, so we're Disney people. Like we go a couple times a year. I own DVC. We're in August. We're doing a trip out to Aulani in Hawaii and then Disneyland on the way back. We're going back to Orlando in November. Like we just really like going. My son loves it. Like, he just really, and honestly, as you know, Pete, Disney's just a big bar anymore. So people that think Disney's like for the kids, they don't really get it. Like you can go drink in like 7 different countries, and best marg I ever had was at their restaurant in Mexico, San Angel Inn margarita. Fantastic. It's the best. Wasting away. I'll just be poolside, just hanging out. And then if I don't like it, I'll jump in the pool. And maybe I'll stay there. I don't know. But anyway, again, I can't thank you all enough. You're what makes this fun. Continue to support. We love that. Up getting close to 15,000 followers, despite people blocking me on a daily basis. So it's it's what it is. But we'll talk again soon. I'll just pray we don't screw it up. Love you guys.